Welcome everyone. This is our next webinar in a series of many on the Course in Miracles Made Easy, as illustrated in my book, Course in Miracles Made Easy. And each month we are taking a chapter and going deep on it. And as always, we begin with a moment of dedication. We say that each of us is a miracle worker, that you are called by Spirit to shine your light. So the purpose of this hour is to open all the doors and windows and all parts of you that contain the light of Spirit and allow you to shine them into the world more fully. We see healing and prosperity and well-being for everybody here, and we see you extending it out to the world. It is my purpose to serve as a facilitator for you to discover your own divine light. And if you care to say with me out loud, and so it is, and so it is. So this chapter today is on healthy, wealthy, and wise. Why would I choose that chapter? Well, there's a lot of discussion among Course in Miracles students and teachers about what is health and what is the body. And does God really want us to be healthy physically? Does God really want us to be wealthy materially? And some course teachers say, well, you know, the body's so unimportant that you shouldn't pay any attention to it. It's all ego, it's all illusion. So don't think about what you eat. And if you're sick, so what? If you die, so what? It doesn't matter, it's just the body. Others say, well, you know, if you're in the body, there's a reason and there are lessons to be learned. And even though the body is an illusion, you can make it an illusion that works in your favor. I tend to fall into the second camp. I believe that God does not want us to be sick, that God does not want us to be in pain. In fact, one of the big lessons in the workbooks is God's will for me is perfect happiness. And if I'm in pain, in any way, psychologically, emotionally, physically, so something has gone wrong because I'm not happy. So I believe that it is possible to live in a body and be in harmony with it, even while you're on the earth, and still do the will of God. I'm going to explain how during this time together. If you have a question or comment, just put it in Q&A, and my friend Nishank will pick it up and we'll talk about it later on in the program. But let's dive in and see what we got going here. So, Course in Miracles de-emphasizes the body as the focal point of our attention. In fact, in some places in the Course, it actually says, do not see bodies. Do not see bodies. Well, I think that's a worthy goal, but I think, you know, as long as we're informed, we're going to at least notice bodies. And in the Course, in the text and workbook, there are many allusions and examples of physical things, talking about birds and streams and clouds and all kinds of things that are physical. So if the Course doesn't want us to see bodies, why does it give us images that related to what the physical body sees? So here's how I hold it. I say that A Course in Miracles wants us to not make the body the focal point of our life. It wants us to use the body to bring spirit into the world. So we're going to look at how that happens now. So there's a list of 4 obstacles to peace in the text. And one is that the body is valuable for what it offers, that belief in that. And the idea is this, that it's a matter of figure and ground. So, matter of priority, first priority, second priority. So, if we take the body and make it a goal and God unto itself, it's really a big distraction. And the Course has the Course has lots of passages about, you know, you're so hung up on the body, about what it looks like and whether you hang on it and how you paint it and how it's dressed. And it says, get over it. Do not make the body the goal. The body is a means, not a goal. It's kind of like if you have a nice car, and you can keep the car in the garage and paint it and polish it and put all kinds of doodads on it and shiny things on it, and that's cool. But what's the use of the car? It's just sitting in the garage, becoming an idol to be worshipped. The purpose of the car is to get you from one place to another. What it looks like is less important than the function that it serves. And the same thing goes for our physical body. What it looks like is less important than the function that it serves. And I don't have to give you a lot of examples about how people get hung up on bodies, because we all have one way or another. Now, I'm going to just reiterate a lesson we did a couple of months ago. So there's a very striking passage in the text called the picture in the frame, the two pictures. And it says, consider a very gaudy frame, a golden gaudy frame that's so ornate and so ostentatious that you can hardly see the picture. It's all about the frame. And then it says, consider by contrast a picture with a very light frame. And the purpose of the frame is to highlight the picture. The frame does not distract you from the picture, but the frame makes a very nice casing so the picture can be seen and enjoyed and looked upon by all who look upon it. So that is the relationship, ideally, between our body and our spirit. If the body is the whole story of our life and the goal and the idol that we worship, of course, says in many ways that the body is an idol we worship. So then the spirit is diminished. Now, on the other hand, if the body is a very light holding place through which spirit can shine, and we bring spirit into the world through the body, well, then it's a proper use of the body. So it's not a matter of either or, it's a matter of figure and ground. And one of my favorite movies is Shallow Hal. A lot of you may have seen it with Jack Black and Gwyneth Paltrow. And it's kind of a funny movie, but there's a great metaphysical point. It's about this guy named Jack who, ever since he's been a boy, has been hung up on hot women. And all he wants to do is date sexy, gorgeous women. And he's kind of a jerk because he has no substance, and women don't really want him. And then he meets Tony Robbins in an elevator. It's a funny story. And Tony Robbins hypnotizes him, so he will start to see the spirit, the inner person of a woman, rather than their body. Great story, isn't it? So he meets Gwyneth Paltrow, who in this movie is made up with a big suit, so she looks really, really overweight. So to the physical eye, she's extremely obese, but she's a lovely person. And she has a good heart and a good soul. And now that Hal has been hypnotized, he sees her soul rather than her form. And he falls in love with her for her soul, which is a complete reversal of his old pattern. There's a lot of funny situations that come up, but there's a really good point that when you start seeing souls, you start seeing different aspects of people than their body only. And there's an interesting reversal in the second part of the movie where there's a woman who, she's very attractive physically, but when Hal looks at her through his new vision, she looks extremely ugly because her soul is ugly. She looked good physically, but her soul is ugly. And so it's kind of a funny movie, but there's a great point. So are you seeing the body or are you seeing the soul? Well, the body doesn't disappear, but when the spirit of a person comes forth, that becomes the real truth about them. And you don't have to be hung up about the body. Now, you can have a great soul and a nice body too. That happens sometimes. But it's all a matter of priorities. Now, you know the story of the Buddha. Well, there was a prince named Siddhartha, and he grew up in a royal palace, and he was very pampered and sheltered from the world. He never went outside the compound of the palace. And one day he snuck out with a servant, and he saw things in the world he had never seen in the palace. And he saw a sick person. He'd never seen a sick person before because he'd been sheltered. And he said to his assistant, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, it's a sick person. I never saw that." Then he sees a very old and feeble person. "What's that? I never saw that." "Oh, that people get old." And then he saw a dead person. "What's that?" "People die." "Really? People die? I never knew any people die." So he's hit by a 2x4 with what's going on in the world outside the pampered enclave. And so he starts out on a quest for enlightenment. And he wants to find out what is life really about. It's certainly not what my parents showed me in the palace. And is it really about all these people who are sick and old and dying? And so his first method was to diminish the body. And he did everything he possibly could to minimize the body, including deny it and hurt it. So the story goes that he walked naked in the cold, freezing weather, and he slept on a bed of nails, and he did not eat. And he basically knocked his life force down again and again and again until he was almost he was dying. He had almost killed himself through denying the body and making it the enemy, making it evil. And then the story goes that a woman came along and she took pity on him. And she said, "Here, let me feed you some rice porridge, some rice pudding." And he gave up trying to fight off the desires of his body, and he accepted the rice pudding. And we're told that in that moment, the Buddha became enlightened because he discovered what he ended up calling the middle path. The middle path, not too extreme, not too much for the body, and not too much against the body. So I think this is a healthy thing to do. Course in Miracles says many times in the Course, this is a practical course. This is a practical course, which means that if you go too far in one direction or another, you're not going to be balanced. And I think I mentioned last month, that I knew a guru who lived on a mountaintop in Ithaca, New York, and he had a spiritual community, and they had no electricity, and it was cold, it was really cold, and they had no creature comforts. And I lived in New Jersey at the time, and there was a chiropractor that used to take care of people there. And one by one, these people came down from the mountaintop. They were all in pain. They were all sick because they were busy denying their bodies, and he had to patch them up and put them back together. And I thought, well, that can't be the way God really wants us to live, to be cold and freezing and starving and to run down our batteries to the point that we're sick. And that was a big lesson for me. That was like, that's kind of like the Buddhist lesson with the lady with the rice pudding. So, not too far this way, not too far this way. I think that's a healthy thing. And I don't think the Course wants us to really be starving or sick. So the Course says, okay, well, so if you're not going to pamper your body and make it your God and your idol, then what are you going to do with it? I mean, we're in this illusion. We all think we're a body more or less. Every single person in this world more or less thinks they're a body. I do a lot of the time. Most of us do a lot of the time. So the Course says that the real purpose of the body, if you're going to be in a body and use it for something, is it's a communication device. What does that mean? It means that you as a spiritual being can bring the gifts of God, the gifts of love and kindness and compassion and generosity, and shine those lights, those energies into the world using your body as a tool of the Holy Spirit. You get it? So the Spirit calls the shots, but the body is the car, so to speak, that drives the Spirit to where it needs to go to deliver blessings. That makes sense, doesn't it? It feels pretty good, doesn't it? And so there's two ways that the body is used as a communication device. One, Spirit communicates to you. And so if you have a pain, So the Spirit is saying, something you're doing is off here. So, most people, when they get sick, it's because they've been doing things that are adverse to the body, usually through stress. And so the Spirit is saying, wait a minute, your body's starting to hurt, you're starting to get tired, you're starting to get irritable. Now, maybe it's time to stop and breathe and think for a minute and say, what am I doing that is running my batteries down? And everybody has some part of their body that is a warning signal that's saying you just started to run your batteries down. You may get a sore throat or a headache or indigestion or an eliminative irritation or pain or something like that. And the problem is that a lot of us override those signals. And so you take a pill, or you take a joint, or you take a drink, or you work harder, or you watch TV, or you get on social media, or you numb yourself with emails or internet, and you do something to distract you from the signal that your body is giving you, saying, wait a minute, you need to have a little course correction. And none of those things are wrong. All those things are fine in their place. But the most intelligent thing to do is say, wait a minute, I'm starting to get a sore throat. That means I've been working too hard, or I've been upset about something. It might be time to renew myself. Maybe I'll take a nap. Maybe I'll do some yoga. Maybe I'll meditate. Maybe I'll read a book. Maybe I'll watch a video. Maybe I'll take a walk. And so you start to restore by listening to the signal that Spirit is giving you through your body. So Holy Spirit is communicating an important message about the quality of your life through your body. Makes sense? That's a good use of the body. The body's waving a red flag saying, ooh, pay attention. There's a funny scene in the Steve Martin movie, The Man with Two Brains. I think that's the name of the movie. And in the movie, his wife has passed away. I think her name was Roberta. And he gets this new girlfriend who's a gold digger. And she's just working him. She's really a scam artist. But he's not hip to it. He thinks she's his real girlfriend. And so there's a very funny scene where Steve Martin goes to a portrait of his late wife, Roberta, hanging in the vestibule of his house. And he says, just give me a sign. Come on. Any sign. Is this new girlfriend right for me? And so all of a sudden there's an earthquake and the house starts shaking and the picture starts flipping around on the wall and there's a big crack comes in the wall and his hair starts standing. I mean, it's a total mess. And finally everything settles down. He says, okay, just give me a sign, any sign. It's a funny scene because it really dramatizes how we get signs. And I say, just give me a sign. Well, you got a sign. You probably got 10 signs. You need 11? And I can't tell you how many times in coaching I say to people, well, how many signs do you need? And it's not always a bad thing because maybe they're being excited about writing a book or traveling or doing something fun. And they're getting affirmations and validations from the universe. Well, how many signs do you need? So the Spirit is giving us signs through our body. Makes sense? Makes sense. Okay. Now the second way that Spirit uses the body as a communication device is it communicates to the world through you. This is really important. I want you all to get this, that you can do things with your body that uplift the world. Your talent, your words. So one of the ways that the Holy Spirit uses my body is to write. I love to write books. I just love to write books. It's so much fun to me. And people seem to like my books and find value in it. People say they get good things from it. And so there's a process where Spirit gives me a message and I use my body, I use my fingers, and I type it onto my laptop, and then a physical book is produced, or an e-book is produced, and physical book is a body. It's a thing in form. It's not just nebulous woo-woo, Casper the Friendly Ghost Spirit. It's a thing. It's a body. And then other bodies read it with their eyes, and hopefully something good happens. So there's been a very beautiful cycle of communication that starts by spirit saying something to me. I use my body to communicate. Other people receive that communication through their bodies, reading an ebook or reading a physical book, and hopefully something good happens in their life. Now, you have your way too. You might be a musician. You might play a saxophone. You might be a dancer. You might be a motivational speaker. You might be a mother. You might be an entrepreneur. You might be a massage therapist or a physical healer of some kind. And so all of those avenues are channels through which spirit is using your body to make the world a better place. As a result of using your body to channel spirit, the world becomes more like heaven. And so the Course in Miracles says, if you're going to have a body, and if you're going to pay attention to body and use a body, you might as well use it for something that's going to make your spirit better, that's going to lift you closer to heaven. You get it? You see? So we don't have to be really extreme. You know, people send me letters and say, you know, why did you say that God is in a body? And, I said, God uses the body. You know, God is not a body, but God uses the body. So let's get practical. Let's not be like small-minded and so narrow that we have to take everything to an extreme. That's what Buddha did. And when he found the middle path, he became the Buddha. And the Buddha means the enlightened one, the illuminated. It was the same thing as Christ. Christ was not Jesus' last name. Christ, with the title, it means the illuminated one. Okay, I hope this will make sense to you. Hopefully I'm simplifying this for you somewhat. Okay, so you can read this. So there's a great passage in lesson 135 where it says the body doesn't need a lot of health-inducing medicine. It says it doesn't need care or concern at all. That's kind of the extreme measure, but that's a good point. It said your body will be strong and healthy if the mind does not abuse it by assigning it to roles it cannot fill. What does that mean? It means that if you stress your body by working too hard, if you stress your body by not sleeping, if you stress your body by trying to prove things that you can't prove, if you stress your body by going to war, if you try to use the body for something that's an unholy purpose, it'll back up on you. It says, but if you use it for spirit's purposes and quit running around trying to make your body better, not that you shouldn't be a bodybuilder or be healthy, that's good too, but you know, how far do you go? It says the body, read with me in here, you know, your body becomes a healthy, serviceable instrument through which the mind can operate. In this capacity is health assured. So right there, the Course in Miracles says that you can have a healthy body. It does not want you to run your body down and be an emaciated, frail bag of bones. It wants your body to be strong and healthy, a serviceable instrument. Isn't that a nice expression? A serviceable work. Serviceable mean it works. If you're sick, in pain, incapacitated, your body's not working. Now, some people are incapacitated, but their spirits are still shining. That's another discussion. But the point here is that the body can be healthy if we really wanted to. And I won't read the rest of it. You can read it. But there's the idea that when you're living in the Tao and in harmony with God's will for you, then the body naturally becomes healthy. And you can maybe either lighten up or throw away some of your prescriptions or your supplements. I'm not saying you should, but there's a lot of people who line up with spirit and all of a sudden they don't need all the medication they were because they're lined up with spirit and their body becomes healthy naturally. And we want to say here that health is your natural state. Health and well-being are your natural states. This is good to underline here. Okay. And so, how do you get healed? Well, you want to adjust your vision. The secret of healing is perfecting your vision. So what does that mean to see perfection? It means that you you don't get so hung up on seeing symptoms and forms and appearance. You have to use what I call X-ray vision and pierce beyond the veneer, the appearance of illness. This is how Jesus healed. I know it. And he said many things. He said, when your eye is single, your whole body shall be filled with light, which means you're not seeing the dualistic world of forms and bodies. You are seeing the spirit that animates the body. And when you look with that single eye, so then just like Hal shall Hal learned to see with a single eye. And Jesus could not have healed people if he was paying attention to their bodies. He was paying attention to their spirit. How many people did he heal? Well, he was called to the house of a girl who had supposedly died, and he said the girl is just sleeping. She's not dead. And lepers came to him. He touched lepers, and they were restored. He healed blind people. He healed paralyzed people. He raised Lazarus from the dead. Jesus was a great, great healer, and he helped people restore the health of their physical bodies. So it makes no sense to me that you should not care about your body, because even Jesus Christ, in his compassion, helped people to restore the health of their physical bodies. Now, how did he do it? Not by focusing on the body, but by focusing on the spirit. That's the whole trick. It's an inside-out job. You follow me on this? It's real simple, but it works if you know how to do it. He also said, therefore be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you think you're a body only, you're not going to be perfect, because the bodies always have something wrong with them. There's something. Bodies do not exist in a state of perfection because we're always seeing forms and separations and limits. But there is a part of you that is perfect no matter what your body is doing. That's the deal. So once again, it's X-ray vision. You pierce beyond, no human being is perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't know any human being is perfect. But within each human being is a perfected being, the Christ itself. And Jesus could heal because he saw the perfection. He was not fooled by Lazarus' death. He was not fooled by the paralyzed man's infirmity. He used his X-ray vision and saw perfection. And because his vision of perfection was so clear and strong, and he was so established in that vision, that he jump-started them like one car battery starts another. They caught, at least for a moment, and hopefully longer, they caught the sense of their own perfection, because his sense of their perfection was so whole that he lifted them to it. He raised their vibration by holding his vibration so firmly. And a lot of people talk about holding space. What does it mean to hold space? It means that you see wholeness, you see perfection. You don't go into worry with the other person about their body. You don't go into the diagnosis, the prognosis. You see their wholeness. You get it? That's how it works. And finally, he said, you are the light of the world. You all know this quote, a city on a hill cannot be hidden. So he didn't say you're the body of the world. He didn't say you're trapped in a body. He didn't say that you're stuck being sick and old and dead. He said you are the light of the world. And when you see yourself and others as the light of the world, so that's what comes forth. So you see how that works. The body is a vessel through which the light of the world shines. And the truth is that the light of the world can shine without a body too, because there's plenty of people who pass on and their spirits can carry on, and they're with us and they help us and heal us and reveal themselves to us occasionally and whisper in our ears. So you don't need a body to be the light of the world. But if you happen to be in a body, you can let the light of the world shine through that body. So one final quote, the Course says, the health is the result of relinquishing all attempts to use the body lovelessly. So once again, it's saying that when we use the body to express love, health happens. if we're using the body to express anger or fear or resentment or retaliation or pushing, that's a loveless use of the body because you have departed from love as a motivation for your body. Now, the good news is that even if you have been using the body lovelessly, the moment you start to love it, it comes back. And I've seen in my retreats, we do lots of retreats in Hawaii, and I have seen people have healings through the group process, through meditations, and through what we do there. And they lose like 10 or 20 years off of their face in 15 minutes. I've seen this many times. Some of you have seen it with me, and maybe in other retreats too, that people, as we get older and more balled up and more resistant, you get this tension on you. And then as you release it, and you open your heart and you relax, all the life force that has been blocked out starts streaming through. It's kind of like a hose that's been crimped, and just a little tiny dribble comes out of the hose. But then you open the hose and whoosh, it's like a fire hose. And that's what happens at our retreats, not just mine, there's a lot of good retreats. And so it's literally possible to reclaim health and aliveness and youth in minutes. There are people who have walked away from terminal cancer prognoses and all kinds of debilitating prognoses because in that moment, they let spirit flow through the body once again. Okay, I have more. I have another subject on abundance, but this might be an interesting stopping point for questions. Nishank, does I have any questions coming at the moment, or should we go on?
Yeah, I'm sorry. There are a couple of them.
Okay.
Or three. So one is, a friend Shukin asks, what prayer do you do, or what prayer do you use before you start writing, such that you invite spirit to work through you or guide you?
I say, I now invite Great Spirit to give me the perfect material, through the perfect channel, to be delivered to the people who can benefit from the most. May their lives be improved through this writing, and may the blessings of that improvement return to me one way or another. So I see a cycle of spirit coming through me, through my work, to the audience, and then returning to me. And it's what always happens. I've been writing for, goodness, 40 years now, and that's exactly what happens. And I always say that prayer before I write. It just takes a minute. And I just remember that my purpose of writing is to heal and serve. Not about me, it's about supporting the people who are going to read the book. That's what I say.
No wonder, Alan. We always feel when we read your books that you're talking to us.
I am.
Okay. So next question. I understand that we need to be honest to the signals that we receive through the body in the first place. So how could we do if we still resist to the fact that we are receiving the signals, that we are resisting to know that there are some signals coming in? What can we do to bust that resistance?
If you know that you're resisting, is that the question?
Yeah. No, we know that the signals are showing up, but we are resisting to see them.
I see.
In that way.
Well, it's a good question, isn't it? So I think it's very good that you're aware that you're resisting, because that's the first step in transforming. Most people are not even aware that they're resisting, so they get sicker and sicker until they have some dire illness or an accident or something that's really dramatic to get their attention. So the fact that you know you're resisting is an asset. I would say, okay, I know I have resistance here. This does not feel good. And so how much better would it feel if I did not have resistance? So, it's like the Course in Miracles lesson, I could see peace instead of this. So what would I be doing differently if I were not resisting? And then, if all else failed, I would pray and say, Great Spirit, I know I'm resisting. I don't seem to be able to overcome this. Please Show me how to not resist. I am open and willing to be taught how to receive the message and the lesson and the blessing. Show me how to drop my resistance. I now allow you, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, to substitute for my ego. You take over. I've been driving this car over a cliff, but I'm willing to sit in the passenger seat and let you drive. And, that works. Just say, please, help me is a really good prayer.
Alan, please show me is 3 words you've used in this book.
Yeah,
that would be a great.
Just show me.
Joanne asks, my body gives me messages often through aches, arthritis, and I suppose even emotional pain sometimes. So where do I start, and what do I do to pinpoint what the cause of the symptom is? Meditation, reflection, having a good form talk to myself. What can I do? Where can I begin?
All those certainly work. I would recommend Louise Hay's books. Louise Hay was a pioneer in connecting emotional causes of disease. Arthritis is often about stiffness. Knees are related to humility. The heart is related to joy. The lungs are related to inspiration. So she has a book, You Can Heal Your Life. It says No One Heal Your Body. And I would start with that and hook up what's happening with your body with what's happening in your spirit. And then you work from inside out. So you're not just trying to put a Band-Aid on the symptom, you are going to the root. Thoreau said, for every 1,000 people hacking at the branches of evil, there is one striking at the root. So for every 1,000 people trying to take away symptoms through pills and Band-Aids and surgery, which is all fine, there's one person saying, wait a minute, something is going on inside my psyche and my mind and my heart and my emotions that is playing itself out and picturing itself out in my body. If I can just get to what's going on inside me and heal that, then I trust and know that the body will take care of itself.
Thanks. Alan, I have had a pressing question about this since the last couple of days. Can I ask that?
Yeah, sure.
So I've been discussing with my friend who is also a doctor. She's on this call right now also. And in India, there has been, since this outbreak has come out, there has been situations where the government is making it compulsory for doctors to do their duty, at least for 15 days, and now it's a month, because many doctors have died. They've ended their lives on their duty to COVID patients because they've got infected. Now, I keep wondering that they are being miracle workers. They are trying to help people. They are in service to heal people. And how come, I'm not talking from the scientific side, but how come their bodies would get infected and they would lose their lives? That's been a pressing question as far as principles of miracles are concerned.
Because on some level, there is a vibrational match to the disease. That you can't get sick unless there's something inside you that's equal to it. Not making anybody wrong or judging, but why is it that Jesus could touch lepers and he didn't get affected? So, and I know one of our coach graduate students, she's a COVID nurse, a nurse in a COVID ward occasionally in Texas, and she's kept beautifully healthy. And I think that some of these doctors may have let their batteries run down to the point that they became susceptible, and they might have worked too hard, or they might have paid so much attention to the disease that they lost their vision of wholeness of themselves and their patients. So sadly, they may have gone across a certain line where the energy of disease became more dominant than the energy of wellness. And, a good doctor can step back where he or she can and renew and put light around them and put blessing around them and call Jesus or Buddha, whoever wants to watch me, and just say, okay, I'm now going in to help these people, but my prayer is that I remain whole enough that I remain healthy, and that through my wholeness, I can deliver blessings and healing to them. Does that make sense, Nishan?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I hope Deval is listening to this because she's going to go on duty from Saturday onwards. So thanks for answering.
Deval, she's a dear friend. Deval, take care of yourself. God wants you to
Thanks,
take care.
Alan.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the second part of the lecture. Thank you. So the second part of this lecture is about abundance, and it's really the same discussion as health. Because, and if you're in my LEAP program, we're kind of doing LEA, Leading Edge of Accelerating Prosperity program. We're talking about abundance and wealth as a mentality more than a bank book balance. And so once you see the world through wealth, through abundance mentality, so it applies to money, and it applies to health, it applies to everything, because either you live in an abundant universe or you don't. Either everything is abundant or it's not. There's really no in between. You can make up gray areas, but really, once you recognize that the universe is founded and seeded in abundance, so then you start to see through the abundance eyes, and it's everything. So health and wealth are actually the same discussion exactly. There's no difference, just different forms of manifestation. So there are two kinds of gifts: the gifts of the world and the gifts of God. Now, I once did a program with Neil Donald Walsh. You all know him, author of Conversations with God. And at the beginning of the program, somebody asked Neil, he said, "Can you help me manifest a car?" And Neil said, this isn't that kind of workshop. He said, "I can help you manifest peace. And if you're peaceful and you really need a car, the car will come. But if you go for the car just for the car, and you didn't have peace before you got the car, you're not going to have peace when you get the car." So in my observation over a number of years doing this kind of stuff, I see that there are essentially two kinds of workshops. One kind of workshop teaches you how to get stuff. And another kind of workshop teaches you how to get peace. I prefer the second one. Now, if you have peace, it doesn't mean you can't get stuff, because God wants us to have all the stuff we need. But the question is, are you focused on the gifts of the world, which is stuff, cars and money and houses and all that stuff? Or are you focused on the gifts of God, which is inner peace? And someone said the only true measure of success is joy. The only true measure of success is joy. We all know people who are very wealthy, but they're miserable. We know people who have no money and they're thrilled, they're happy. And you can't have people who are happy too, or with money who are happy too. So we want to really go for the gifts of God. And as Jesus said, "Seek ye first the kingdom and all shall be added." So, when you work for love, then the money comes. But if you work for money, the love may not come. And there's been studies done on lottery winners, and the basic study is that if lottery winners were happy before they won the lottery, they were happy after they won. And if they were unhappy before they won the lottery, they were unhappy, in fact, unhappier after. So the outer world is an effect, it's not a cause. And this is key for the Course in Miracles. One of the basic themes of Course in Miracles is the reversal of cause and effect. And we've been taught that stuff out there makes me happy. The weather and money and my house and my girlfriend and my car, all that stuff makes me happy. But the truth is that unless you make yourself happy, all those things can't make you happy. So the Course wants us to generate well-being from the inside out, and then trust that when you're well inside, the outside will take care of itself. And probably a lot of people watching this webinar live or on the archive can tell lots of stories about how when you dropped into your heart and you're authentic to yourself, outside things took care of themselves miraculously. We could do weeks and weeks and webinars just on examples of that. But if you're just busy on the hamster wheel looking for outer stuff, your inner peace is shot. It's out the window. We all know this, and it's not news to anybody. So my friend Bashar, spiritual teacher, says, abundance is the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. The ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it. So It has nothing to do with the amount of bank in your bank account. It has nothing to do with the size of your house. It has nothing to do with how much your car costs. It means that if you need to do something and the universe empowers you to do it, you're an abundant being because you have the wherewithal to do what you need to do. And we see this in my coach trainings, in my seminars. People find all kinds of ways to pay for it. They found some saxophones they used to use in the attic, or they got a tax refund, or they do a benefit at their church, or somebody gives them a gift, and they end up doing what they need to do, and that means you're abundant. So in my life, I've always had enough to do whatever I needed to do. Sometimes there was more money, sometimes there was less, but I've never been wanting to do what I need to do because I've always had enough. Somehow, if I need more money, it shows up. If I need less money, the money may not be there. So it's a really interesting dance, isn't it? Just to watch spirit take care of you. Throw yourself on the mercy of Great Spirit and say, okay, I think I need this thing. If this thing is right for me, will you help me get it? And if not, I trust this or better. It's a good way to look at it, isn't it? And so the Course says, and so all things are given unto me forever. I cannot lose, for I can only give, and everything is mine eternally. It means that you already own the entire universe. That everything that God is yours. Everything, all that God has access to, you have access to. You are the child of a king, a queen. You're not a beggar. You are not a servant. You are the offspring, the progeny of the Most High. Everything God is, you are, I am. Everything God has, you have, I have. There's an affirmation. Some of you want an affirmation. Everything God is, I am. Ooh, meditate on that. And finally, there's a lovely passage in the workbook. It says, the treasure house says that all things are already in your treasure house. And I put up a picture of a physical treasure, but it's really symbolic of a spiritual treasure. It said all the treasures you could ever want are here already. It said no one is denied his least request or his most urgent need. There's no sickness not already healed, no lack unsatisfied, no need unmet within his golden treasury of Christ. How rich are you? How rich is God? It's the same answer. Ooh. Well, there you have it. I don't think I could really say any more about any of this. It's all the same principle. Health, wealth, relationship, it's all the same. I wrote a book called Relax into Wealth. And I thought, I could write a book called Relax into Health. I could write a book called Relax into Relationship. I mean, it's all giving up that anxious human striving and saying, a Great Spirit, just work through me, work for me. That's the deal. Okay, we have any more questions, Mr. Nishant?
No, Alan, nothing as of now.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll say just a bit more and then we'll have a nice closing meditation.
Okay, Alan, we have one.
Okay.
Okay, it's a lovely one. How can I feel guilty? How can I heal feeling guilty for having abundance when most of the world does not? Oh my God, this takes me back to same question that I asked you on my coaching with you.
Yeah. Well, that's the best question you could ask. So how can I feel guilty by having more abundance? Because I'll quote Abraham. Abraham said, you cannot get sick enough to make somebody else healthy. You cannot get depressed enough to make somebody else happy. You cannot get poor enough to make somebody else rich, and you cannot get dead enough to make somebody else live. What Abraham is saying is that when you are living in a prosperous universe, two things happen. One is your vibration rises to a prosperity consciousness, and you, through your experience, are sending out waves and signals. I live in a prosperous universe. I live in a prosperous universe. And when you know that you live in a prosperous universe, you are empowering other people to discover the same thing, because your mind is a radio and everybody's mind is a receiver. So when you are vibrating in a prosperity mentality, you're actually inviting other people to meet you there. You jumpstart their own prosperity so they can join you in prosperity. The second piece is that if you have prosperity, you can help somebody else who's less prosperous. So a lot of us donated to various organizations during COVID. And if you were poor, you could not give money to other people to help them. So your prosperity ends up being an asset to them, because we're all in this together, and your wealth spills over to their wealth. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow all days of my life, and my cup runneth over. Now there's one more piece, that there is a belief that your wealth is somehow taking away from somebody else's. And metaphysically, this is not really true. It is literally possible for everyone on the planet to be totally wealthy simultaneously. There's an old paradigm, and this is very old, it really doesn't work. And it says that there's a fixed amount of wealth in the universe, in the world, and when somebody has more, then somebody else has to have less. Now, on a rational standpoint, this might make sense, but on a spiritual point, it doesn't make sense at all, because wealth is manifested from inside out. Wealth is a manifestation of consciousness, not a fixed commodity. And so what we want to do is build a wealth mentality. So if you have a choice between giving somebody else money and building their wealth mentality, if you build their wealth mentality, then now they have the strength and wherewithal and skill to make wealth for themselves for the rest of their lives. So giving a one-time donation is good, but giving a donation of consciousness is the best. We talk a lot about this in my program, the LEAP program. If you still want to join it, we just started a couple weeks ago. Go to my website, alancohen.com, and you can see this. It's an 8-week program on building a wealth mentality. Okay, we can say a lot more about that, but I think that's enough for now. Anything else, Nishant?
No, we're all good.
Okay, very good. So let us just drop in. Now close your eyes if you can, if you would. Right where you are. I invite you to drop into the place inside you that is whole. Withdraw your attention from your body, or your bank account, or your relationship partner, or the news, and reel your antenna in like the tentacle of an octopus, just pulling the fishing line in. Reel it in, reel it in. And drop into the place inside you that is whole. Jesus said, be perfect, even as your heavenly Father, Mother is perfect. And so at this moment, I want you to have a vision of yourself as impeccably healthy. And if you've ever seen a photo of yourself when you were just shining and radiant at whatever age, that's a key. The light that you were when you were the most healthy is the light that you are now. And I invite you now to reclaim that light and start to see yourself as a spiritual being. If God is the sun, S-U-N, I am a ray. And everything that the sun is, the ray is. All that God is, I am. And I want you to have a vision of yourself with life force coursing through you, coursing first through your mind and then through your body. What's the most enlivening thought you can think? I'm filled with energy. I am filled with life. I am filled with love. I am life. I am light. I am love. I don't need to go looking for it. I am it. Why would I search for what I already am? And so knowing what I am, I let what I am shine forth now through my eyes, through my hands, through my feet. Beautiful lesson from the Course says, today, my eyes, my hands, my feet, my tongue are all given to Christ to save the world, to serve the world. So simply let yourself be what you already are. And now look inside your heart for that treasure chest I showed. It's not physical treasures. Within you are the treasures of the universe. You have love in your heart. I have love in my heart. I have kindness to give. I want to help people. I have creative gifts to give. I have music and art and writing and dancing, horticulture, and something I want to do that would make me happy to do it. And my joy is completely involved with the joy of others. When I live for my joy and I help others, I help make others' lives more joyful. So look at the treasure chest inside you. It's symbolized by gold and doubloons and all those things that treasure chest show, but those are all symbolic of the gifts of God. Compassion, I have compassion for living things. I love to support other people to be happy. I now reclaim my right mind. Somehow I slipped into wrong-mindedness for a bit, but now, in a moment, I reclaim my right mind and I line myself up with perfect health, perfect wealth, and perfect relationship. I have wealth of relationship. I have people who love me and whom I love. I have pets who I love and who love me. I have friends that money could never put a price on. I must be the wealthiest person in the world. Speaking for all of us. How could I ever think I was poor in any way? How could I ever identify with illness or lack in any way? Those are all just dreams, tricks of the mind. Now I'm waking up to who I really am. Oh, wow, I'm awake again. That feels good. I remember who I am. Thank you, God. I am. I am all that God is. All that God is, I am. I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. Let's take a breath together. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope this has been helpful to you. I want, of course, to be very practical in all of our lives. Thank you, Nishank, for your impeccable moderation once again. Thank you, Dee, for supporting me in so many ways. And most of all, we thank Great Spirit for bringing us together, reminding us who we truly are, and waking up together. And so it is.